Great to see everybody. Welcome. You beat me to thank Dan, because again, this would not happen without Dan's leadership. So thank you for all the way you're serving this movement. And I was thinking about how 5 years ago, how did God move me to think about the Spreading Hope initiative? And it really came out of a passage in Isaiah 54. So I wanted to read that passage to us so that you'll see where this idea of spreading hope to our cities comes from. It begins with, "Sing, barren woman. You who never bore a child, burst into song, shout for joy, you who were never in labor. Because more are the children of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband, says the Lord." So there's a description, you know, two words that keep coming out, right, are the words desolate and barren, right? And when you look at the state of urban education in our country, those would be perfect descriptors, wouldn't it? To describe the crisis, right, of educating urban children, barren and desolate. And God is saying, I'm about to do something where you would expect barrenness and desolation. Listen to what he then says. He says, "Enlarge the place of your tent. Stretch your tent curtains wide. Don't hold back. Lengthen your cords and strengthen your stakes, for you will spread out to the right and to the left. And your descendants will dispossess nations and settle in their desolate cities." Right? So the picture is there of a tent, right? That's where there's going to be significant spreading and growth. And so the call is to enlarge the tent, right? Stretch your tent curtains wide, lengthen your cords, and strengthen your stakes, because something big is about to happen. That it's going to change our cities from places of barrenness and desolation to places of fruitfulness and flourishing. Don't you see it, right? So what the question that I asked myself coming to this gathering is this a moment or a movement? Is this a moment or the beginning of a movement of God? And one thing that I would look at is there momentum? Are we seeing signs of momentum? So as Eric said, this is our third urban school leaders gathering. How many of you have been to all three? Anybody been to? So a couple of you have been to all three of our gatherings. So a third national gathering. There are 60 urban school leaders who are gathered here with us. I think there's even 2 from the Congo. Is that right? Is that right? Are they here? They haven't arrived yet, but there's 2 all the way from the Congo. There's been in the last couple of years an explosion of new schools, new urban Christ-centered schools starting. That I believe you probably haven't seen that many new schools start up in one short period, maybe in the last century. I'll bet. Right? 10 new schools, Christ-centered schools, starting in a short period of time. It's an unprecedented time. There's momentum being built from real networking of us in the work. I think a key part of what we're doing here in the next couple of days is the prayer and share time that we've built into this retreat. right? That it's not just about somebody standing up front and talking. It's also about real networking at the heart level, where there's going to be sharing and prayer with one another. There's moments for that built into our retreat together. So real networking. Another thing, real problem solving, right? Look at the panels here that are going to be presented. We're addressing real issues that our movement is facing, like how do we bring a classical model of education into an urban cultural setting. So this first panel that Joy Lynn's going to lead is focused on one of the most important elements if this movement's going to move forward, right? How do we effectively start new schools? How do we successfully transition schools from founders to others, and panels like that. So I believe that this isn't just a moment, it's the beginning of a movement. And one question that I've got then is why should we think that this movement is going to accelerate and grow? And I want to leave you with another passage from Isaiah that gives me incredible hope about this, and why this is a movement of God that's sustained by God and directed by God. It's from a passage in Isaiah 59, and it gets at this issue of justice, right? And can I just say that I believe that educational injustice is one of the most important social justice issues of our day, right? Do we understand that? Let me give you a couple of examples of that. So a century ago, every parent knew that they had to, in an agrarian society, every parent knew that they had to do one thing to get to their kids. What do they have to get to their kids? The land, the farm. You had to get the land to the next generation if you were going to ensure their future prosperity, right? Then it became the family business. Every parent said, I got to get my family business to the next generation. But if you ask any parent today, what's the one thing that you've got to get to your kids, what would everyone say? I've got to get an education. You know how you know that? Look at what's happened in the last couple of months, where the wealthiest, most elite actors in Hollywood, what were they spending thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to do? To get their kids, right, the right education into the right schools. And if that's what's denied, right, inner city families and inner city children, then doesn't the educational injustice have to be one of the biggest social justice issues of our day? So listen to this passage in Isaiah with that in mind, right? It says this. So this is Isaiah 59, 14 to 16. It says, so justice, right, think educational justice, is driven back, and righteousness stands at a distance. Truth has stumbled in the streets, and honesty cannot enter. Truth is nowhere to be found, and whoever shuns evil becomes a prey. The Lord looked at this. He looked at this injustice, it says, and was displeased that there was no justice. I believe as much as any of us might feel that when we look at the education crisis in our inner cities and might feel real anger about that, I don't think it even begins to compare with how God feels about that. Right? It says, the Lord looked and was displeased that there was no justice. He saw that there was no one. He was appalled that there was no one to intervene. So what did the Lord do? What did the Lord do when he saw that situation? It says, so his own arm achieved salvation for him, and his own righteousness sustained him. You know why I believe this is not a moment but a movement? You know why I believe this movement is destined to spread out to the right and to the left? Do you know why I think we should lengthen our cords and strengthen our stakes? It's because the Lord himself is in this to bring about justice, maybe the most important issue of justice in our city, in our country, in our cities, through these schools. The Lord is intent on working justice with his own arm. And so I'm hoping that during our 2 days together, that the Lord will be with us. The Lord will be among us. The Lord will bear his arm, right? And strengthen our hands in this work of bringing educational justice to our country and to the children of our cities. So thank you for coming. I love you all. Thank you for coming and making this a priority. And I hope the Lord, I've been praying that the Lord will be with us in this work to spread hope to our cities.